Meanwhile, Diana thinks about her childhood before awakening her powers as a saint. She was just an ordinary village girl who had a fight with her best friend. That night, her mother read her a story about the saints, and young Diana became curious to know more about them. Her mother told her that the original saint was a kind girl who protected her people. Little Diana believed she could never be like the saint, as she had fought with her best friend. While her mother explained more about the saint's powers, Diana fell asleep. In her dreams, she saw herself floating high above the clouds, and the original saint was there too. Diana didn't understand what was happening, but the saint transferred her power to her, telling her to use that gift to protect the world. Diana still couldn't comprehend what was happening in her dream, but when the power merged with her body, she woke up. She immediately tried to test her new ability and discovered that she could summon it whenever she wanted. Excited, she ran outside to tell her parents that she had awakened her powers and become the new Saint Diana. But no one believed her. They told her to bless the crops if she really had powers, and annoyed, Diana created a magic barrier to prove to everyone that she was indeed the saint. Her parents were shocked and extremely proud at the same time. They immediately went to the village to tell everyone the great news. Diana was happy with all the attention she received, without even realizing that her life would completely change after that day. The next morning, she found the entire village kneeling before her house to greet her. Diana loved the prestige and went out to greet everyone. She spotted her best friend in the crowd and ran to apologize for their fight the day before. But her friend timidly replied that she didn't deserve the saint's forgiveness. Diana was shocked at how differently everyone treated her. Then, officials from the Dianism church arrived to take her away. Diana was horrified when even her parents didn't resist the idea of sending her away, and she wished she had kept her powers a secret. On the way, the nuns told her that the previous saint had passed away, and Diana had inherited both her power and her duty to protect the kingdom. The girl felt that no one wanted the simple village girl anymore, and decided to dedicate herself to keeping the kingdom safe. On her first day at the church, she met Scarlet, who wasn't much older than her. Diana was enchanted by Scarlet's natural elegance and grace. With her support, she began to fulfill her obligations as a saint. One night during a sleepover, Diana asked how Scarlet managed to be so good at everything, even though they were almost the same age. Diana ended up crying because she considered herself a useless country bumpkin, but Scarlet wiped away her tears and told her not to underestimate the joy she brought to people. She said that Diana's pure heart inspired others to do their best, and that this was not the inherited power of the saint, but something that came from Diana's own personality. The girl couldn't believe her friend's words. Filled with anxiety and confusion, she thought Scarlet was only saying that to comfort her and began to feel jealous of her maturity. In the present, Diana is sitting alone in her room when Julius summons her to the room where Scarlet remains unconscious. Diana checks on her friend's condition, but Julius doesn't respond. He just stares at her coldly, making her realize that he has discovered her secret. Julius explains that they interrogated a high-ranking official from the Paminian church, and he revealed that the two people leaking confidential information about the Dianism church were Dios and Diana. The girl confesses that she sold information to the Paminians and that this was the reason for the attack on the pilgrimage. She asks if Julius will arrest her, and he sighs, saying that arresting her would only cause more problems. After all, he cannot arrest the saint, as that would cause enormous chaos. Besides, Scarlet would be devastated if she found out Diana was arrested while she was unconscious. Julius says that Diana will remain free until the end of the pilgrimage, but first, he wants to know why she betrayed her own people. Diana is about to tell him the reason when a dazzling light leaves everyone speechless. Outside, Leo and the others are also shocked to see a huge pillar of light in the same direction as the purification crystal. The light was released when Terran destroyed the purification crystal. Satisfied with her actions, Terran tells her followers that the light of the goddess Palma will continue to shine for them. However, Nanaka observes everything hidden and wonders why the Paminians would go so far as to destroy their own crystals. At that moment, two men kneel before her, praising her beauty and power. Terran greets the two men, who are high-ranking inquisitors of the church and who brought a squadron of paladins from the neighboring Elrond Empire. They comment that another inquisitor went to the Venko Empire to negotiate, but since he hasn't returned yet, that can only mean that the negotiations failed. Fortunately, they also managed to get the support of the Falconian nation, and now they have enough strength to overthrow any country on the continent. The narcissist tells Almart Kakashi that Venko and Palestine have been fighting wars for generations, so Venko will not waste the chance to win the conflict once and for all. Nanaka panics when she hears this and runs to inform Scarlet, but the Inquisitors spot her. Terran says that she will take care of the rat herself and activates her power, sending her brainwashing mist in Nanaka's direction, who cannot hold her breath in time. As she falls to the ground and begins to lose consciousness, Nanaka apologizes to Scarlet while Terran smiles maliciously. Back in the city, Leo informs Julius that the purification crystal was destroyed because of the Pillar of Light, and as a result, the barrier around the city disappeared. Soon after, a huge horde of monsters was seen advancing towards the city, and Leo fears that it will arrive within an hour. He says that there are thousands of monsters in the horde, which is strange because monsters never gather in such large numbers. He states that the soldiers will not last long and asks Julius what they should do. Julius orders him to immediately gather the paladins and organize the evacuation of all citizens. At that moment, Sigurd rushes in with more shocking news. The nations of Elrond and Falconia have declared war on the kingdom, and their armies are already marching towards the border city. He asks Julius to go to the capital immediately, and the prince understands that this is the most sensible decision given the situation. Julius asks Leo to take care of the evacuation, take Diana back to the church. Ali prepares to return to the capital and supervise the preparations for war. He glances at Scarlet's room window before leaving. While Diana tries to understand what is happening outside, she kneels beside Scarlet's bed, lamenting that nothing should have happened this way. She remembers the moment Scarlet told her that her positive spirit inspired others, and now those words seem even faker. Diana begins to cry, believing that she hurt the person she loved most in the world out of pure jealousy. Then she hears a noise outside the door and turns to see Dios. He asks why the security is so lax and where Julius and the others are. Diana is furious to see him and declares that she will no longer act as a spy for the Pominians. Dios questions her if she has forgotten the reason that led her to betray her people and ally with the Pominians, and Diana still remembers that cursed day clearly. The day the nuns confirmed that she had lost her powers and that not even the saint's holy staff could restore them. They lost all faith in her and began to hope that another saint would appear soon. Diana, frustrated, was about to break the staff when Dios appeared out of nowhere. She was scared of the dark-looking paladin, but Dios said he knew she would lose her powers and that he was there to help her regain them. Diana didn't believe him until he broke a small crystal, forming a barrier identical to her old magic. Then he revealed that he was a spy for the Pominian Church and that Tara had given him barrier crystals containing the saint's power. If Diana used these crystals, she would feel as if she had never lost her gift. Thinking about how this could help the kingdom, she heard Dios propose that in exchange, she would provide information about the Dianism Church for 1 year. Diana initially refused, but Dios convinced her by saying that he could restore her power permanently, something that would allow her to protect the kingdom. Swayed by the manipulative words, Diana accepted as long as he didn't use the information to harm anyone. In the present, Diana tells Dios that she will no longer work for the Romans, and he replies that if she gives up now, all her effort will have been in vain. But Diana says she's willing to accept this fate instead of continuing to betray those she loves. She picks up a dagger and says she will fight for her people just as Scarlet would. But Dios doesn't even consider her a threat. He declares that in that case he will kill those who learn and advance towards Scarlet. Diana runs to stop him with a dagger, but Dios disarms her with ease. Even so, she continues to attack, shouting that she will not let anyone hurt Scarlet. At that moment, Scarlet regains consciousness. The first thing she does after waking up is punch Dios, sending him through the wall and directly into the forest. She considers that her morning stretch and wishes Diana a good morning. At the same time, Julius and Sigurd advance towards the capital. Julius believes that the Pominians are behind the declaration of war by the two nations and fears that the vanquished empire will also take the opportunity to attack. He is already strategizing how to deal with this. Then suddenly he sees a knight riding a dragon coming towards him and immediately asks Sigurd if he has a white handkerchief, as they might need to surrender. However, the knight quickly dismounts and apologizes for crossing the border without permission. He introduces himself as Jin, the vice-captain of the Dragon Knights, and hands a letter from the principal to Julia. On the other hand, two paladins tie up Dios, who is still trying to talk his way out of the situation. At that moment, Scarlet arrives and orders the paladins to leave him alone with her because she needs to interrogate him. Dios tries to take the opportunity to cut the ropes and escape, but Scarlet was already expecting this and uses her time manipulation power to restore the rope and capture him again. She says that Diana told her everything about their agreement and about the information she passed on to the Pominians. Dios asks if Scarlet wants to know secrets of the Pominian Church, but she just wants to know his true intentions. Scarlet remembers that when Diana's carriage fell during the procession, Dios ran to save her without hesitation and comments that his expression at that time was identical to Leo's when he is worried about her. Then Dios reveals his biggest secret: Diana is actually his half-sister. He confesses that he lied when he said his father was an elf and his mother human. The truth is that he and Diana have the same father, but she doesn't know that. Dios reports that years ago he looked for his scoundrel father who abandoned his mother and him, but before confronting him, he saw little Diana and was enchanted. He even starts to squirm like a worm while telling Scarlet that his little sister is the cutest creature in the world, and that when she lost her smile, he couldn't stand it. He joined the Pominian Church and became a spy because Tara promised that there was a way to restore Diana's powers. But now that Diana herself said she no longer cares about regaining them, Dios says he has no more reason to be loyal to the Pominians. He gives Scarlet a letter with secret information from the Pominian Church to prove this. Scarlet, however, gets irritated by his attitude and tears up the letter. Dios panics, saying that without it, no one will believe him, but Scarlet grabs him by the collar and states that a simple letter wouldn't prove anything anyway. She says that his actions hurt many people, including Diana, and that if he truly wants to redeem himself, he needs to act with sincerity. Scarlet reveals that she talked to Diana, and that she decided to take responsibility for her actions, confess her crimes, and accept the punishment. Then Scarlet concludes by saying that Diana is much stronger than Dios imagines. In the city, Leo uses his clear evidence and confirms that the monster horde is still approaching. The paladins help with the evacuation, and Diana tries to calm the panicking children. Leo tells everyone to hurry because they need to leave before sunset towards the capital. They leave the city and at night set up camp near a lake. Scarlet isolates herself to think about everything that happened while she was unconscious. The purification crystal was destroyed, monsters attacked the kingdom, and now 2 neighbors have declared war. She looks at the clock she received from the god Krenoha and thinks about how she wanted to restore Diana's powers first, but now there are much more urgent problems. Suddenly, Julius emerges from the bushes beside her, surprising Scarlet. She asks why he is there if he should be in the capital, but Julius says he went there, completed important tasks, and then rushed back to see her. He asks if she wants to play tag to lighten the mood, but Scarlet finds that strange. She suggests that he must be tired and asks if he wants a head pat. Julius immediately creates dog ears but hides them instantly, saying he is not a pet to be happy about that. For Scarlet, that reaction is enough. She knows exactly what is happening. She states that there is another Julius behind him. The fake Julius turns, saying he was sure the real one wasn't around. Scarlet hits him on the head, knocking him out, and he returns to his real form, a puppy Nanaka under the control of Tara's powers. Scarlet picks him up, relieved that he is back even though he was in danger before. Then Nanaka wakes up in her lap inside the carriage and tries to understand what is happening when she hears Scarlet's voice. He immediately apologizes for failing the mission. He tries to tell her about the Pominians being allied with the enemy countries, but Scarlet asks him to calm down and says she already knows everything. She reveals that they are going to a strategic meeting to decide how to face the enemies of the Palestinian kingdom, and Scarlet even gets excited about the number of people she can punch in the war. The meeting begins, and Julius explains that the kingdom is surrounded by powerful nations: Falconia to the north, Elran to the west, Venkos to the east, and Lindbergh to the south. Scarlet knows that all these countries are stronger but have always remained balanced with each other. Julius highlights that as soon as the purification crystal was destroyed, Falconia and Elhin declared war, and a gigantic horde of monsters also invaded the border. He reveals that there are about 50,000 monsters in the horde, and Palgas comments that it will be necessary to mobilize the entire royal army to face them. Julius reveals that the monsters are going directly to the capital without making any detours, almost as if someone is guiding them. Falconia and Ellen already have their armies positioned at the border, but fortunately they haven't attacked yet. Caleb believes that they are waiting for the Palestinian army to wear itself out facing the monsters, and then attack when the kingdom is already weakened. Everyone is disheartened to hear this, but Julius says he also has good news. He reveals that recently a certain faction contacted them wanting to help Palestine to put them in debt. Then he introduces the principal and his assistant Jin, explaining that they suggested an alliance between Palestine and the Vanquish Empire. Everyone is shocked, and Leo immediately protests against the idea of allying with the man who incited Godwin and almost destroyed the kingdom from within. Other people in the meeting agree with Leo and ask Julius to reconsider. Then Scarlet decides to give her opinion, saying that she trusts that Julius carefully analyzed the risks and benefits before accepting the proposal. But everyone who witnessed the incident caused by Al will hardly be able to accept him as an ally. She asks Julius what was the reason for him to agree to this alliance while Al sits beside her and winks, making her furious. Julius explains that he understands everyone's concerns, but he cannot reject the offer of alliance with the Vanquish Empire. However, Al interrupts, saying that there is a misunderstanding because the Empire will not help Palestine, only he will help. He laughs and asks if they really think the Vanquish Empire would send its entire army. Sigurd gets angry and draws his sword, but Julius asks them to wait to hear what Al has to say before taking drastic measures. Scarlet, on the other hand, is not so patient and immediately puts on her gauntlets to sink Al's head into the ground. Everyone panics, thinking that the newly arrived ally is dead, but Jin explains that he already expected the prince to mess up and therefore came prepared to be the main negotiator. Jin explains that the Vanquish Empire does not have a hereditary system for the throne. Instead, the emperor is chosen from the strongest warrior of each generation after bloody battle. Al pulls his head out of the ground and states that he would not lose to anyone in a one-on-one fight, but admits that the dispute for the throne is more complex and may even involve a war. Julius finally understands his motivations and asks if Al is helping Palestine so that in the future they will support him in his own imperial dispute. The red-haired prince confirms, but Julius replies that even so, he doesn't seem strong enough to help Palestine against so many enemies. Al retorts, saying that he is not alone. At that moment, a soldier runs in and reports that thousands of dragons are flying over the capital. Al calmly says that they are the Red Sky Dragons, the best team of dragon knights in the Vanquish Empire, who are under his command. He declares that they can easily defeat the army of 50,000 monsters, and everyone regains hope when they remember that the Red Skulls are the best air force on the continent. Julius asks Al if he really believes that his troop can face the monsters alone, and he replies that they fight fierce creatures from the demonic continent daily, so they are not soft like the soldiers of Palestine who live under the protection of barriers. Julius admits that his soldiers are indeed not strong against monsters, as monsters are too stupid to negotiate. However, when it comes to enemy nations, the army acts as a bargaining chip, and Julius intends to end the war without fighting. Al asks if he plans to negotiate with the other 3 neighboring countries, and Julius explains that he has already sent a letter to Lindbergh, and they replied that they will only observe the conflict. As for the other 2 nations, Julius asks if Al has any useful information. Al realizes that Julius noticed that the red sky dragons made a detour coming from the north to collect information, and is impressed with Julius's calmness amidst the tension of the war. But Julius reveals that it was Jin who told him this. Al is shocked, and Jin explains that he already knew that the prince would be too optimistic, so he prepared everything for the alliance to work, including sharing information with Julius to gain his trust. Nanaka whispers to Scarlet that Al doesn't get irritated even when his subordinates disrespect his authority, and could show that he is a kind leader, but Scarlet thinks he is just an idiot. Al then stands up and reports that they saw the Falconia army in the northern forests, composed of elves and beastmen, but in too small a number to be a main army and too large to be just a reconnaissance team. Julius begins to analyze the data, remembering that Falconia never tried to expand its territory. This means that some external force is instigating the invasion, which makes it possible to negotiate with them. He feels that if they can convince Falconia to retreat, the situation will change quickly, and then they can also negotiate with Elrond. Julius begins to think about whom to send to negotiate with Falconia and looks at Dios, commenting that he is half-elf and very good at infiltrating enemy camps. Nanaka also volunteers to go with him, as some members of his family may be in the army there. Dios explains that beastmen don't like to fight, so he believes he can convince them to give up. Julius agrees and declares that Dios and Nanaka will go to the Falconia army to try to negotiate. The meeting ends like this, and soon Scarlet finds Dios and Nanaka discussing whether they should approach the enemy from the east or the west. Scarlet ignores the two and goes to Sigurd, who is instructing a group of knights who will be sent to the front line if the Elrond army attacks. Scarlet charms the knights with her beauty and elegance, and they swear by their swords to protect the kingdom at all costs. She replies that she also swears by her fists to protect the kingdom. Then she mounts her pet dragon Rex and flies over the army, causing a panic attack in Leo while Julius just waves at her as if it were normal. Scarlet arrives at the Red Sky Dragon's camp and 2 guards run to stop her. She greets them calmly, introduces herself, and asks to see the principal. The guards are shocked to hear her name because Scarlet is famous among them as the Bride of Hell, the woman Al intends to marry. Scarlet is furious about this and even more annoyed when they say that the dragon was a wedding gift from Al to her. At that moment, Al appears, and Scarlet orders Rex to roast him as she is irritated. Rex obeys and breathes fire on Al, who's not bothered at all while his soldiers celebrate Scarlet's audacity. After that, Al orders everyone to prepare to fight and tells Scarlet that she can go all out against the monsters. Dragon Knights arrive at the horde, and Scarlet chooses a specific group to punch. She thinks those monsters look like they deserve a punch and starts dancing while easily smashing them all. Al appears and asks if she's having fun. Rex replies that the monsters don't even put up a fight and that he has already punched people with much uglier personalities, so it's not that satisfying. At that moment, some knights arrive desperately, saying that they found a giant pig that captured one of them as a hostage. Scarlet gets excited about the chance to finally satisfy her fist. Al takes her to the place where the monstrous pig is, leading a group of smaller piglets. Scarlet thanks the big pig for being born, as this will allow her to crush it, and it gets angry. The monster reveals that it was a common orc, but thanks to the blessings of the goddess Pomia, it was reborn as the god of orcs. It orders its minions to bring the hostage to serve as an example, and says that its favorite food is human women. Scarlet replies that by coincidence, her favorite meat is pork and that it seems perfect for dinner. The orc advances, but Scarlet uses her time manipulation power to attack it before it reaches her. She explodes the orc's head with a single punch, shocking everyone present, but Scarlet knows it didn't die and she is right. The orc's head reappears in the center of its chest, and it says that it can move its head to any part of its body. Scarlet decides to play whack-a-mole, punching repeatedly as it shifts its head around its body, stating that her blows are useless because its thick layer of fat protects it from all damage. It then returns its head to its normal position and spits acid, but Rex appears and spins its head 180 degrees, causing the acid to hit its own minions. The orc remains convinced that Scarlet's punches do not affect it until its body begins to swell from the inside. Without understanding what is happening, Scarlet explains that she slowed down time and hit it hundreds of times in the same spot, causing the energy of the punches to cook its body from the inside. The effect explodes all at once, killing the orc leader miserably and scaring its minions, who immediately flee. The Dragon Knights become fans of Scarlet because of this, but she doesn't want any attention. Suddenly, a wind spirit appears and she hears Dios's voice saying that things are not going well on their side and that it will not be possible to negotiate with Falconia this way. But that's where the video ends.